All right. Okay. All right, everybody. Good evening. Thanks for coming out to the meeting tonight of the 2029 Historic Welland Canals Task Force. I just want to call the meeting to order and recognize our traditional territories. The land on which we meet today is a traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish and One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Acknowledging this as a reminder that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of Indigenous people. All right, thank you. And are there any amendments to the agenda tonight? I have an addition. I'd like to discuss at some point the scheduling of assets tours uh, within the city limits of the old Welland Canal. So basically pick up our hiking again and schedule a couple of hikes for this spring. I really think it's important that task force members, and now we have a few new folks on the task force, it's important we see what is out there so we know exactly what we're commemorating. Okay. Any other amendments? All right. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Thank you, Councillor Garcia. And any against? All four? All right. On to the next one. Number 5. Can I have a motion, please, to adopt the minutes of the last meeting, which was on February 13th, 2024? Thank you, Councillor Williamson. All four? All right. Against? Thank you. Okay, item 6, declarations of interest. Are there any? All right, seeing none. And now we're on to business. 7.1, correspondence from Rusty McCarthy to myself regarding seeking recommendations for funding sources for research and a creation of a multidisciplinary performance focusing on the Welland Canals. And basically, he was reaching out. They want to put some period costume performance about the history of the canals, the building of the canals, and they're looking where they can get funding and how we can support them from the gist of the email. That's what I got. Anyone else have any comments about this? Councillor Garcia?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I looked at that email. It's an interesting proposal, but I would think that the best direction for them to get funding for something like this would be through grants, and there must be a number of grants that are potentially available, and hopefully our staff can direct them in terms of what grants they can apply for. It's something, a show is something, if they produce it, is something that we can certainly use as part of celebrations, but I don't know that we're in a position to be funding the development of the show.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. We can direct them, the Heritage Council, the arts and culture folks. They would have a better knowledge of where they could get funding. Olivia, you have a
I
comment?
would ask that we guide them to talk with Ashley Judd Rifkin, who's a culture coordinator for the city of St. Catharines. She's the one in charge who works with the St. Catharines Cultural Investment Program, and she'd be able to help guide them a little bit more to see if there was any skip funding available, if they would be eligible in any way for funding through the city.
Okay, that sounds good. So we can do that. I can return an email, or is that the way to do it? Best way to do it, return the email with that info or, okay. All right, any other comments or questions regarding this issue? Pauline?
Maybe this leads to a bigger question of just what are we responsible for? This isn't the first time we've had requests for funding for events. So what is our term of reference related to something like this? We're not responsible for every event that is going to happen for the 2029 bicentennial. So maybe there should be an understanding or a statement put out there. I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about? Know what I'm asking?
Yeah, at this point in time, according to our terms of reference, our task force is really responsible for putting together a kind of a roadmap for moving forward in the future, not for implementation of that roadmap at the moment. So really implementation is all dependent on what council wants to do forward from the interpretation plan, which doesn't get us in the kind of detail of exactly what those activities would look like. It just recommends, that there should be activities, there should be events, there should be, as we've talked about, all the things that we've talked about in our sessions. So at this point in time, the task force's responsibility is not to do implementation of any kind of commemorative activities. And also we don't have any funding. So there's really not much we can do when someone comes and asks us for funding, because it's really not our responsibility at the moment. Our sole main responsibility is to come up with this interpretation plan, and all of the terms of reference kind of lead to that, as well as recommending there were some things that were asked in the plan, which included, in the terms of reference, which included looking at the legislative framework within the city to see where this fits within the official plan, and also investigating opportunities for fundraising or for funding for activities moving forward. So most of the things in our terms of reference are included in the interpretation plan, and as far as that goes, it really is going to be up to council as to what the next step is. So all of these proposals, there's not really much we could do for them other than to say, we support you. And if you want to take on this activity, that's great. We would love for you to take on things, and we'll be happy to support where we can.
Yeah.
And we can.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to
Thank
respond
you.
to him though. I'd like to respond to the email, maybe, in a thumbnail, I can mention that we're still in the stage where we don't know what's happening yet. We want to get this interpretation plan approved and moving forward, and any events that come out of that down the road, we'll be more than happy to support, not unconditionally, of course, but to those effects. I think it's important that we respond anyway. So,
well, definitely we need to respond, I think. And, I think we should encourage people, if they want to take on activities of their own, that's great, because that's,
like
the
I
last
said,
thing we have to worry about.
1974, the carousel players, in grade 7 I was, and they came to our school and did a costume performance about the founding of the Welland Canal. It was pretty cool. So it can be done 50 years ago. I'm sure they could put something on today.
I think Adrian
Okay.
has a comment.
Yeah, Adrian has his hand raised.
Sorry, I didn't see you there, Adrian.
Hello. Hi. Yes, my camera doesn't work on this computer. What was I going to say? As was popular with the bicentennial of the War of 1812, many cultural groups have already begun planning theatrical productions or cultural installations around the anniversary, who haven't reached out to the task force. They've just gone about it already. So making it a popular part of their season. So it's this one has reached out to us, but others have already begun searching for funding and stuff like that. So it's will be a very popular topic for the next few years.
Okay, thank you, Adrian. All right, any more questions or comments regarding item 7.1? Okay, on to the next one. Event proposal, correspondence from Tim Gillies for a 4-day horse ride along the route of the Welland Canal in honor of the Welland Canal Defense. I just saw the email now. I can't remember even getting that email, but
No,
my son
there was I was asked to give him a call. I guess he called Citizens First, I think. I can't remember actually. So I spoke with him on the phone, and he was wanting to put together this ride from Lake Ontario to Lake Erie in honor of the Welland Canal force that patrolled the canal during World War One. And I told him that he would most likely need to get permission from all the municipalities along the canal, as well as the seaway. But again, he would have to plan, his entire event and seek those permissions.
Yeah. So yeah, again, it's another event of when it happens and when you get approval and all the permissions you're ready to jump on the horse, we'll be more than happy to support. Um, is that are folks in agreement with that kind of plan as far as us? Yeah. Okay. All right. Any more comments or questions regarding?
Yes.
I think it's a good idea. Councilor Garcia?
Just a procedural question, Mr. Chair, to Carla or Kathleen. Should we be making a motion to receive these emails or letters?
I think we can. I don't see any reason with not to do that, so sure.
Okay. Can I, Councilor Williamson?
Well, I'm just thinking about the Seaway. I don't know how well they would treat a horse ride, depending on where they actually were trotting or whatever the horses do along the route here. So that might refer them to the Seaway to find out what's actually permissible.
That's basically what Carla did. She basically
Oh,
said
I'm
that
sorry. Oh,
if
okay.
she wants,
I missed
if they want to continue forward with, starting to look at planning an event like this, there were the municipalities along the other route, as well as the Seaway who owns the trail, essentially. Yeah.
Right, and I assume that the chair for the first request that you're going to include Olivia's suggestion to get in touch with the skip people at the city.
Yes,
yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. So make a motion to accept both these emails. Can we do it in one fell swoop? Could I have someone make that motion that we accept them? Thank you, Lorraine. And all four? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. All right. Also, the two little clowns in the back with the wheelbarrow, they need to be part of it too. Took you a minute, but you got it. Okay. 7.3, the Historic Welland Canals Interpretive Plan Update.
I can provide that update. Currently where
Right,
we're
Kathy.
at is that the council report is currently in draft form and has been passed up to my manager and director to take a look at and to make some comments and edits to, and then from there it will go to through the process to get to council. I think we're hoping that the council report will go to council either the very last council meeting in May or early in June. We don't have an exact date yet, but it will be sometime around then. And the expectation would be, as we've been talking about over the last few times that we've met, that someone from the task force, I assume it would be Renee, but would come and present at council on the night that comes to council.
Lorraine?
Would we be welcome to attend? I assume so because it's an open council meeting, but just letting you know that would be an interest for sure for some of us.
I think
it would
that's
be
always appreciated.
Good.
Yeah, appreciative and encouraged. And, all the other canal geeks out there, there's a number of people in the city that would be interested. Dennis Gannon, for one, Isabel Bachman. There's a host of other folks that have a vested interest in this as well. So we should not officially maybe as a task force to invite them, but people that we know. So, and it would be a great honor to be able to present while I'm standing behind Kathy to present this interpretive plan to council.
As we get
No.
closer to the date, we can take a look at what that's going to look like, and we could potentially schedule a meeting of the task force just to take a look at what our presentation is going to look like, and we make sure it's prepped and ready to go before the meeting,
Okay, that sounds good.
if that works okay.
Are
with
there
you.
any other?
Mr. Chair, having people in the gallery in support, always helpful, always helpful.
Right.
Thanks,
And having
Chris.
Councillor
more
Lund?
than one presenter works too. Sometimes you can kind of do a little mini team presentation. Colleen could bring
How much
some
time are we going to
along.
have? Yeah,
Usually I think we have less than 10 minutes. It's like 7
Yeah,
minutes or
true.
something like that. Yeah.
we got no juice from the counselors on the task force and help us out with the time there.
We can always ask you questions after. We could ask you some lob balls.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
No
we can
questions.
ask lots of questions. They'll have a time limit, but we can ask lots of questions.
Okay. All right. Is there any other discussion on the interpretive plan update? If I may, it might be a good idea for members of the task force, now that we're, about a month away from presenting to council, that we go over the interpretive plan again, and kind of familiarize ourselves even more with the document. And I've read it a couple of times, but I know I can dive into it, see what else I can pull out of it. So, and I think it also be important to highlight, given that we do have a limited amount of time before council to present this, to pick out some highlights, some that will really hopefully sway council in our favor for approving this. Lorraine.
So is the
Yes.
procedure to give council a sort of a summary, an executive summary of the interpretive plan, or to give them the entire interpretive plan ahead of time?
It's kind of both things.
Okay.
The council report will summarize the plan and also the work of the task force to date. And then the interpretive plan itself is actually attached to the council report.
Okay. So the thought would be that when we go into the meeting, everyone will have read that and be prepared, and then Renee will be summing up key pieces.
Yep, that's the idea. I
That's
think
the idea.
basically what Renee and would be presenting is kind of what the council report presents, but from the task force's kind of side of things.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And maybe some of the more, highlight potential projects or items within the interpretive plan that are affordable, stuff that not so, I guess, abstract in nature, stuff that can be done now. We already have tons of existing infrastructure and like some of the sign, for instance, in Pure Point Park, that new sign, that could be highlighted as a template, an easy template for future signage along the corridor. So stuff like that. All right. Any other comments about the interpretive plan update? Okay. Item 7.4, the Historic Welland Canals logo review.
I can share my screen so everyone can see
Okay.
the logo.
I think it's a cool logo. I wish it had the name St. Catherine's on it somewhere. It's simple, in my opinion. It's simple, and it covers, the first canal, the history of the first canal, and it shows what that first canal has evolved into with the Laker, present day Laker. What do you folks think or feel about it?
Have we seen this before anywhere, or is this new?
This is new.
This is new.
I think
And-
Councillor Garcia has his hand as well. Sorry, Colleen, when you're done.
I just wondered who created it.
Oh, city staff did.
City
The city's
staff.
graphics department.
Okay.
Councillor Garcia?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to rely on the Welland Canal experts like yourself and Colleen on this, but uh, my impression always has been that the tow horses would have been pulled by a bridle or something along, because we always hear the stories about the horses, because of the wind or whatever, being pulled in and crushed against the sides of the canal. So was there in fact riders on the horses at sometimes?
I don't think so. I don't know.
And just to point out, the top part of this graphic is copied directly from a period advert
Ah.
From the day. If you look, I can send it to you easily, but it's Colleen would be familiar with it. It's an
I know
old ad
I've seen this before.
looking for workers on the canal, and the top part of that banner is lifted right off of it. So that might be an issue. It's not copyrighted anymore because it's a period, it's, almost a 200-year-old graphic image. It's not owned by anybody. It's considered, public domain now. But I saw that right off. I said, oh, they got this off the old advert. So that might bring up an issue. Does anyone else have any feelings about that?
Well, just to
Counselor
finish,
Williams.
if that's the case, maybe we could make it more unique by having someone pulling the horse as the pull, because then it's no longer the same graphic, right?
Yeah. Counselor Williamson?
Yeah, thank you. A good catch by Carlos, I agree. And then 200 years, we're talking about plural, we're talking about 4 Welland canals. So I don't know if we should have an S on there. And then being a minimum, I like the images. The bottom image, I guess, is supposed to be a modern Laker where they have the cabin aft. I'm not sure what the vertical item is sticking out in front of the smokestack. Not, I'd have to look at a ship, but that one. Anyway, if we're going to go to like the earliest vessel and the newest, most modern vessel, might want to look at some of the details there. Maybe we have a few too many seagulls, but I'm not. I'm kidding. Doesn't really matter. The other thing, we're celebrating to maybe. Do we even need to put celebrating? If we just put if we move the 1829 to 29 up where celebrating is, and increase the font of that at 200 years. But maybe we like celebrating in there. I don't know whatever other people think. I generally like it though, I gotta say.
I like the word bicentennial. I'm surprised that's not in there. I don't know if that's key or that's important.
Do we not need canals though? Instead of should it be canals?
Well, there were 4 Welland canals, but it is still always been named the Welland Canal. No?
We're also just technically celebrating the 200th anniversary of the first Welland Canal. The rest of them, their 200th anniversary is
yes,
not happening yet.
As one former member of the task force said, well, we could celebrate in 2080.
Well, but the first one only lasted for 20 some years.
Yeah, they weren't long in the tooth, that's for sure.
It doesn't matter to me either way. If you wanted canals or canal, I guess it's just to choose which one you want. I think that was the reason why we went with Welland Canal by itself without the S, but I'm fine either way, honestly.
I agree with Kathy on that. It's the Welland Canal, the first canal we're celebrating.
Yeah. And we think of it in a singular too, so the collection of canals in a way.
Okay. Or Lorraine, you got your hand up?
Yeah, just a couple things. I would agree with Carlos about the person on the horse. Every picture I've seen, the person is leading the horse. So I think that would be better. I think that would be more accurate. And then I also agree with Bruce about the bottom ship. It doesn't look that modern to me. I don't know. It looks clunky. So I, I'm sorry. I would like it to be a little bit more modern looking, to really reflect 2029 and the types of ships we see. I like celebrating a lot. I like, the idea that we're celebrating it. And yeah, I think it's really nice to show the beginning and current. I like that comparison. I think that works very well in this celebration rather than just showing the past and the present. Pick, one picture or the other. I like both of them. So just a couple little things that I noticed and that I agree with.
Yeah, I think the lower ship, the graphic, the rear uh, part is the funnel, obviously, the stack, and then in front of that, that other thing sticking up, that's the aft castle, like the cabins. It's a self unloader, right? So it's like where the bridge and the superstructure is. So that part I get. Councillor Williamson?
Sorry, just clear myself. Yeah, you and I may finally find something we don't fully agree on, but yeah, I don't know what that. The cabins now are 2 or 3 stories. If you look at the new Algoma Equinox class that had the graphics on them, they're fairly tall. Maybe this anyway. It's yeah. Oh, and relatively, I think the seagulls are too large scale wise to the vessels. Well, particularly the lower one.
That's a pretty giant horse. But anyways, it's a very simple. I like the simplicity of it. That it's simple. It's not too busy. Um,
This is just a draft, so
Colleen?
we can make any changes you like.
Yeah.
The biggest seagulls maybe they're pterodactyls.
Colleen, you have a comment?
I think Lorraine was before me.
And
Okay, Lorraine.
thanks, Colleen. Something that did bother me at first, I forgot to mention it, is I would have thought that St. Catherine's would go over in the left corner, the opposite corner of the date. But then I was, I could see why, because Welland Canal obviously goes way past St. Catherine's. But I guess I want to get some clarity on, is this going to be used for our celebrations only, or is it going to be some kind of symbol that we use to celebrate from St. Catherine's to Port Colborne? What's the intent here?
Okay. To answer that, I think it's St. Catherine's celebration. It's the St. Catherine's task force. I really think St. Catherine's name should be on it.
And we did have a couple conversations earlier where we said we're not going to worry about what the other cities may be doing, like Thorold or Port Colborne, we're not, and Welland. We're not going to worry about what they're doing. But then again, we don't want to be, we don't want to be narrow-minded and only say St. Catherine's, but on the other hand, we are using it for the St. Catherine's portion. So I have sort of mixed feelings about that I wanted to express.
Okay, thank you. Colleen, I think you're next.
Just more on that comment. I don't think we need to put St. Catherine's. I think it's important for people to just leave it the way it is. I know it's our celebration, but it is the whole canal. It may not resemble the other cities or communities' logo, but I don't think we have to be specific with that. That's just my opinion. Anyway, I think the years are very important. I think they should be more pronounced and be added to Welland Canal, either under celebrating 200 years and then the year. I think you can play around with space there and include that. I think that's really important for people to know about. I think we're in an agreement that the 2 images, historical and current, is good. I like it. I agree with Bruce that I think the detail, and Lorraine, that the details have to be refined a little bit. And I think we can be more creative with the pictures here, with the symbology. But I do like it. but let's be more creative and up to date is what I'm
I
suggesting.
do like the idea of losing the word celebrating, moving the 200 years over to the left and putting the dates 1829 to 2029 in the right, where the 200 years is now. That's my view. Counselor, who was first, Counselor Williamson or Garcia?
Go ahead, Carlos.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Pardon me, agree with Colleen that I think the concept of showing the two periods is a good one. We just need to tweak it a little bit for more accuracy. I think Bruce made some good comments about the current ship. And in addition to the horse, the other thing that I worry about with the first image is, should that not be a sailing ship, which is what it would have been back then? And it would make it more attractive, I think.
Yeah, you're right,
That's a good
because that
point,
the
Counselor.
sorry. I'm on.
Yeah, you're
Okay, sorry.
you're up.
You know what? That's another. Yeah, this is not the Erie Barge Canal. This is the Welland Canal. So I'm sure we had lots of barges as well, but that's not what we're typically known for. And as a person who's marked 10,000 grade 9 geography maps, border is a big thing. And we're consistent around the whole border until you get down and put the dates in the margin around the perimeter of it. I don't know, maybe we can move 1829 up in the waves and of the first image and 2029. Only trouble is it might get lost at that size. But I like to keep the border clean. The outside border, I think it'd be better if it was clean with no script or anything in it.
Okay. That's a good point. All right, so can we agree, fundamentally, we like the basic design of it, though some tweaking might need to take place. Folks all right with that?
I think that's a good summary, Renee. We like the
Okay.
concept.
Yes, yes. The duality of the eras is important, and that's a fundamental aspect of the graphic, or it needs to be. That's important. Any other comments about the logo, the proposed logo, as is? Okay.
There's a couple
On to the
spelling
next
mistakes below it.
There's that teacher in you, Counselor Williams.
Yeah. Just typos.
Okay. If that's all for that one, yeah. Pauline.
Have we ever considered having a contest for a logo design? But
the idea came up when we were putting all those stickers up, but that,
as a teacher, Bruce, do you think students would be interested in that? Niagara College students? No.
Generally, we try to avoid
too much effort
asking. We try to avoid asking artists to do work for free.
I think I can declare a conflict of interest on that question.
Normally, if we would ask for a graphic to be designed, we would want to pay for it. And we definitely don't have a budget for that, which is why we've had our graphics department at the city take a stab at it. But again, like if we end up that we don't like the final design, we don't have to use any of the design in the way we currently have it. And it can definitely go back to the drawing board. This was definitely a start.
I think Lorraine, Lorraine summed it up. We generally like it.
Yeah. I think too, time is a bit imperative. We talked about launching the bicentennial at the bicentennial of the groundbreaking, November 2024. But whether we do that or not is irrelevant. But what I think it is important is that we need a letterhead and a graphic sooner rather than later. I don't know if we have the time to wait, to put out, for a contest or have other designs come in. I think by the end of this year, we need to have something out there to the public, that the task force is up and running and that there's as I said before, there's going to be a party in 2029. So
I
that's
think we
just
can
my
we can put the contest idea not totally off the table, but maybe use it for another thing. I agree that, you know, because if you listen to all of us, we're really concerned. We're concerned about the historical accuracy. And I think that you wouldn't necessarily, as a former teacher as well, I wouldn't think that I would necessarily get that from elementary students, maybe secondary, I don't know. But then they're about to go off on a break. And then Niagara College students come from so many different backgrounds. Well, I don't know that they would be as familiar with it as we would maybe hope. So I think we can use the idea of a contest, but for maybe for some other purpose as we move along. But I think getting this graphic moving quickly with some historical accuracy and some aesthetics is what we should focus on. And
And-
paying the department included in their salary, right, Kathleen?
thanks, Lorraine.
Yeah, for sure.
We will need another logo once, you know, the interpretive plan hopefully gets approved by council. We have this whole new trail system. We're hoping to launch the historic Welland Canals corridor, and that system is going to need a logo, you know, for signage and such. So maybe that's the way to go for getting input from you know, outside artists, etc. All right. Any more on this topic? All right. We're at the part I added about scheduling hikes this spring. So, Colleen, did you want to add anything about this or put in your plug for this?
I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea that we hike probably the Oakdale or the Meriton trails, 8 to 13 perhaps, and mountain locks.
Right.
And maybe the Richard Pierpoint Park, so we can have a look at the only remnant from the first canal lock system. So there's 3 potential hikes there. Renee and I were hiking the Meriton Locks a couple weeks ago and had some ideas about possible signage that would enhance those sections of the trail. But I think it's really important for the task force, especially with some of the new members, to get out there and have a look at some of the remnants that people might not be aware of.
Yeah.
We tried to do this in
Yeah.
the winter. It didn't work. Weather wasn't on our side, but now that the weather is nice, I think we have to get together as a group and spend some time.
And the blossoms
Boots on the
blossoms
ground.
are out. It's pretty out there.
Yeah.
And that stretch from Lock 14 at the Mountain Locks Plaza going downbound or north to through Meriton, there's a lot of remnants in a short, relatively short span of distance. You've got buried, there's a 3-story weir that's buried out there that you can see bits of by Lock 10 of the second canal. You've got a whole stretch, probably a 300, 400-meter stretch of basically the first Welland Canal drained, a clear stretch, uninterrupted as the first Welland Canal goes between, right from Lock 10, goes all the way down to Disher Street. That's the first Welland Canal, just immediately adjacent to the second canal locks. So it's jam-packed full of remnants through there. And they're relatively easy hikes that can be done in all weather. So maybe we can, we don't have to do it tonight, pick a date, but maybe Carla could throw out some dates. It'd probably have to be on a weekend, I would think. So.
Are we talking in the
What
next couple
folks?
weeks? When are we talking?
I don't know. Do you think we ought to wait till after the interpretive we present to council to do these hikes?
You
Or
know the trails
before?
better than I do, you and Colleen. It might be better to know when the best time is.
Yeah,
Anytime.
anytime, yeah,
Anytime
really.
now. I think it's
Yeah.
probably more important to do it, try and get as many from the task force out there before the interpreter and before we meet with the city council.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
it's an
Then we have,
education process, and it could generate, hopefully, greater interest amongst members of the task force that aren't familiar with those important pieces.
and the other thing too for Mountain Locks Park, once you're into June, it gets too overgrown and it gets really, you almost need a machete to get through there once you get
It-
into the meat of the summer. So springtime hikes would probably be best. So um, maybe Colleen and I can put our heads together and come up with some dates. But I think the first hike we should do is north from Sobeys up to Disher Street at least, um, maybe even beyond. So we're talking Locks 14 through to Pierpoint Park. That's a good at a leisurely pace. We could go there and back in 2 hours. So at a dawdle. And then Mountain Locks could be the second hike.
Or we could arrange it just to go one way.
Yeah, we could do that. We could do that.
That
So
might be a good idea.
Sunday looks like it'll be clear.
this Sunday, I work on Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not this Sunday, but any other Sunday for me.
On a
Sundays
Sunday.
are probably best for me.
And I can adjust my schedule to, if the group decides Sunday's best for everybody, I can adjust my work schedule to meet that. So that's not a problem. What's the best day? The thumbnail, like shout it out. Saturday or Sunday? What's best for people?
I'm okay for both.
Me too.
Once we get into June, I'm in trouble.
Okay. Kathy, do you have your hand up? No? Okay.
No, but Adrian does
All
have his
right.
hand up.
Sorry, Adrian.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have a date recommendation, but can I recommend that you include or maybe start on the previous urban crossover from the trail sections that you're talking about? Because part of the recommendation in the interpretive plan was signing the urban crossovers from the pieces of Merit Trail. And you can get a sense of how difficult it is to leave the natural sections of the Merit Trail to the urban crossovers if you include them in that section. Arguably more difficult to navigate than the canal remnants.
Oh, urban crossovers like
Yeah,
example.
from like the end of Geneva to
Oh, right. Yes,
the other
yes.
end of Geneva at Westchester.
Yeah.
So that as not to give the impression that it's already easily navigable, but that our recommendation is that linking the disparate portions of the trail means
A
more.
link could be made it'd have to go in and around the 406, of course.
No, sorry, I'm just I think our recommendation is specifically to something achievable in the time that we have ahead of 2029, which would be signage. So, but anyway, I think members of the task force should experience all parts of the trail, whether natural or urban.
That's a good idea. That's an excellent idea. Yeah, because you have to go to hike a couple of blocks, once you get over at the end of Pierpoint Park and you come out of the park, you're not hitting accessible canal lands until you hit the pedestrian walkway over off of down by the arena.
Where?
Okay. Any other comments? All right, the next item is a motion to adjourn the meeting. And we won't be are we scheduling another meeting before the interpretive plan presentation? Probably not, eh? Kathy, you did mention that you thought it might be an idea for us to get together, kind of to go over.
Yeah, let's have a look and see where we're at in the next few weeks, and then we'll send something out.
Okay. All right.
We'll keep
So
you posted,
guys
at least so that we have an update before the council meeting. And
Right.
When that's going to be, what that's going to look like, all of that kind of information.
Okay. Thanks, Kathy.
I have a
Any other
question.
comments?
I have
Yeah.
a quick question as well. So we had mentioned that we would invite Isabel to go with us on the walk. So whenever we set the date, is everyone still okay with Isabel Bachman coming on the hike with us?
Yeah, last time I spoke with Isabel, I know she was having some mobility issues. So I don't, I'm not sure if she's able to hike, but I'm sure she'd be able to meet us over by the Bruce Trail portion of Mount Lawrence Park.
And I think she would
Um,
welcome the invitation. I know we
Yeah,
were
I
at
think
Brisbane last time. She said she hoped that she would be feeling better by then. And then,
Yeah.
so it would just, I think she would enjoy that. The second question is, this is sort of a kind of a personal need, but would I be able to invite the volunteer photographer who takes pictures for the Merton Matters for me? Would I be able to invite her on the hike to take some pictures? And I would give them to all of you. I know this, I'm just thinking because Kathleen was talking about, people we pay to do things. She would be a volunteer taking pictures for me that I would maybe use in the newsletter, but that I would also distribute to all of you from the places that we saw. Is that a conflict, Colleen?
No, absolutely not. In fact, Renee and I had a little bit of a discussion about these hikes, and we would encourage anybody to attend.
Okay, thank you.
Aunts,
Totally.
uncles, dogs, kids. Bring them
what
on.
about what
Also,
about
Lorraine, sorry, Renee, I just wanted to comment on Lorraine's question about whether or not we're asking a photographer to do work for us for free. Technically, we're not asking them to do work for us. If we put out a contest and we ask for an artist to do work for us for free, it's different from someone who voluntarily wants to come out to an
good.
event and take photos along the way.
I wanted to
press coverage.
clarify. I just wanted to make sure that I was standing on firm ground. I just thought that,
sure.
she takes wonderful pictures. I don't know if you've seen any of the covers of Merton Matters where I've had canal pictures on. They've been just gorgeous pictures from mountain locks. And I just thought, I know she would like to come and be able to take some pictures. So as long as everyone's okay with that, I will invite her as well. Thank you.
That also begs a question about press coverage on one of these hikes. Maybe have someone from the Standard come out and say, hey, the city's got this task force and they're out, looking at old remnants and checking things out. Might be an opportunity to get the word out about what the task force is hoping to achieve. How do people feel about that? Having someone from the press along. Yeah. I'm seeing
Maybe if we
nods.
get the logo ready, that would be an opportunity to get some PR.
Yeah.
As
Okay.
well.
All right. All good ideas, good thoughts. Any other comments before we move to adjourn?
The Leafs
Thank
are
you
up
all
1-0.
Sorry,
Oh, yay! That's terrific. Let's adjourn.
Mr. Chair, sorry, just one general comment on graphics, because Kathleen is going to be talking to our design people. In my history of my career, one of the most important principles of marketing is consistency. You want to have a consistent image out there. So when they're looking at the two graphic logo, to keep in mind that maybe the top logo, which is the older canal, can be one that can be used further on as a symbol to mark the trails. And then you have a consistent image throughout that is being used. So just a thought to pass on to them.
That's a good idea. That's a good thought, Councillor Garcia. We'll keep that in mind, most definitely. Continuity. So, and just Colleen and I went hiking. There's still several old Merritt Trail signposts. There's one right at the corner of Eastchester and Oakdale, and it looks like it was 8x8 timber with a plastic kind of a cap. But I thought those are great posts. They could be used at each lock to denote the lock number too. So stuff like that. Anyways, I digress. Everyone wants to go watch the Leafs lose and go play golf tomorrow. So with that, can I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, thank you, Councillor Williamson. Good night, everybody. Thanks very much for
Night.
coming out.
Good night.
Thanks, Renee.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thanks a lot, Carla, for putting
Okay,
the
you're
meeting
most
together.
welcome.